Cool.
Cool. So how are you doing this morning?
Good. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky for the first time, playing a show at a place called Redbud. So I'm really excited to be able to travel, play my tunes, across the country. So it's
That's
really exciting. Yeah.
that's amazing. Let's just do a quick introduction to who Boogietraxx is.
Yeah.
You want to tell us who we are?
That makes sense. Yeah. I have to be the one to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I could whatever I know. Or, hey, Brandon.
No- no, yeah, so my name is Brandon. I go by Boogietraxx. I've been producing for like I would say probably for the past like 3 years consistently. Been doing music all my life. Grew up doing music in the church. That's how I started like playing drums and stuff. And then I played for a couple of bands locally in my hometown of Staten Island, New York. So would travel in and out of the city, playing shows here and there, playing drums, and that kind of affirmed my love for music. And as I went through college, I was collaborating with more folks and playing more music. I was playing, tried to give it a shot, playing professionally for about 2 years. Played a couple of gigs with a lot of like great synth pop artists and played drums for them. Met a good friend of mine, Joe and Dozo, who has been a collaborator of mine for several years, and we I played drums for his synth pop band for a little while, and that's when I was really introduced to Ableton, and I started kind of tinkering here and there. And then we made an offshoot project called Hot Fun. I was doing more tinkering in Ableton, and it came to a point where I was like, you know what? Joe was doing so much of the work of the production that I was kind of giving him ideas here and there, but not really diving into the production work of itself. So I started tinkering more and more and more in Ableton and started writing and started producing. And then when 2020 hit, the world was in a standstill, of course. And so I spent a lot more time just getting that seat time in Ableton and spending more time with it, listening to a lot of what other DJs were doing, a lot of other artists were doing, and trying to emulate a style that was important to me, which is that French house, French touch, like the 90s, early 2000s sound. And I started honing in that craft and made a couple tracks, and I was like, like, let's see what happens. And I sent them to a couple labels, and they were like, hey, this is great. And I was like, holy shit, like, okay, cool. I'll just keep making them. And then I started, collaborating with producers like Clavette, Monsieur Von Pratt, C to Afro. And then it just kind of bubbled up into something greater than I thought it would ever be. So that's kind of the short of it. But yeah, it's been a wonderful, exciting, and incredible journey so far. Yeah.
I noticed that you started releasing, like you said, it just a couple years ago, but like your catalog started around when it's online. It was around May of May of 2020, correct?
That's
Or
right.
so?
Yeah, yeah. I
And
dropped something with Cedar Afro's label. I think it was Spin Cat Music. Yeah, and started from there.
yeah, and your how many songs have you released since then? Because it looked quite a bit already, extensive.
Yeah, I mean, aside of like songs and remixes, we're thinking maybe about like between 30, I would say, 30
Okay.
to 35. So yeah, the churning and the production just didn't stop, especially during that time where like clubs weren't open, and I was trying to hone in my craft, and so I was just cranking them out as much as I possibly could. But yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, you're getting on some notoriety labels as well. Um, were you just shooting them out the labels that you love personally, or just anyone out there?
Yeah, I mean, I started off with labels that I really loved. I think the approach that I had was, I know my music is okay, so I'm not going to send this to Defected thinking that Defected is going to get back to me, right? Like
Right.
that's not how it works. But labels that I've loved, and even that I've played, like smaller labels that have gone off in the club that usually don't get that much shine because they're not a major. I started reaching out to them, and to my surprise, they were really interested in the music. And yeah, I kind of started from there, and it kind of grew, and then more labels would reach out, and mid-sized labels would reach out, and it kind of grew from there. So yeah, I would say for starters, I wanted to reach out to labels that were smaller, but I loved their
Yeah.
catalog. I loved what they were doing, and and how they were putting smaller artists on, some who don't have a social media following or are just getting started, but their label catalog had bangers in it. So yeah.
Yeah, I would say your music is a little bit more than okay,
I
but
appreciate
but
that.
I
Thanks.
I, I appreciate the being humble. But uh, yeah, it has that '90s flair, but obviously with the future, the future
Yes.
sound to it, and some of your songs are really big, big synth heavy disco sounding songs, and always bring the good vibes and the groove to it, which is great for a club. How you so you normally play because you did a mix for us, but you normally play in that disco house realm, correct?
Yeah, so I'm typically I can't remember who told it to me, but um I think actually a producer named Neverdole made a post of it, but it's one of those things like seeing how in Austin a lot of people are playing like techno or tech house. I can easily fall into the fold of that, but I think what I'm passionate about and what I produce and what I enjoy is disco house, that French touch, disco. And I've always been passionate about that. And for me, I feel like what I've heard from a lot of producers, like I said with Neverdole, staying in a lane and being happy in the lane that you're in is something that's so important because it's true to yourself. And so for me, that's how I found, disco house, French touch, all that has been my lane. And like in Austin, I've kind of become like the disco guy in a way. I say that humbly, but I've become that person who like,
Mhm.
if someone is having a disco party, they know I'm going to come with it. I'm going to bring with it, those type of vibes. And
Yeah.
same with the collective that I work with in Austin, Disco Nap. Like we're bringing in those disco vibes, like heavy. So we're the ones to do that type of stuff. And for me, like that feels great because I'm playing the stuff that I love, and I'm staying in the lane that I'm happy with and that I produce, and I'm not trying to be a chameleon in different spaces or different avenues. Like a lot of DJs can do that, but I'd like to be happy with the genre that I play, and also to leave space for the people who are good at tech house, who are good at techno, and they can crush those parties. Like let them do them. Don't book me for that.
Yeah.
Let them do it.
But
So yeah,
do you like playing those genres?
I'll play. I'll bang out some tech house. If the vibe is calling for it. Depending on the party, I'll play some bangers out there for sure. It all depends on the party and if the crowd's feeling it and the vibe is right. But yeah,
A lot of my friends that
absolutely.
a lot of my friends and people I know that are like techno don't like disco.
Yeah, very common. Yeah.
Like I went to Movement in Detroit, and I don't think I heard a lot of disco there.
Oh no, definitely not. No, 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 no.
But I love disco. I love house music. It's kind of the roots of soul, and
Mhm.
just the feeling. It's I I always say that house music always brings the best parties, the best
Oh,
vibes, the
always.
best
Yeah.
people. I mean, all you could say that about all music, how it brings its own all cultures and people together. But something about house music brings the businessman that works late at night corporation to the raver,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
to the
Yeah.
mother that has 5 kids.
Oh
Uh,
man, it's crazy like
yeah.
seeing, and it's funny like coming up from like a club culture early on where it's like you're going to a place that is only playing like top 40 and hip hop, and
Mhm.
you're seeing like bottle service. I remember the first time in New York when I went to go to Output and I saw Carl Cox. I saw barely any phones out. I saw just an eclectic blend of people and no one caring who was there. You know what I mean? Like everyone's there to hear the music, to feel the vibe and enjoy themselves. And I think house music does connect like all types of people, all ages, all age groups, all
Mhm.
demographics, like all together. And seeing that in parties, like to me, like warms my heart because it really is just a celebration of the music. So
Yeah.
yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying, and
Yeah.
you see it, at parties. I see it every day at
Yeah.
parties. So yeah.
How when you guys were like, we're gonna do a disco collective, we want to throw some parties, how was that accepted? How did people react to it right away? Were people looking for that? Did you find out, or was it a was it a hit right off the bat?
Yeah, so I'll say the collective is started by an artist in Austin named Scott Slider. He had a vision where he really wanted to run more disco parties. He's very much like plugged into the scene, and he wanted to start something that was, he played a lot of disco. And when I met him in February of like 2019, I think he was still like doing like a lot of like tech house type of stuff, and he like liked to play disco. And so when we linked up, we started chatting with venues and saying, hey, we'd love to run like disco parties, that, we throw a little bit of tech flair to, not like shoot everybody away, but kind of create some sort of blend and some sort of synthesis between the two, so that, we're playing this disco house type of stuff. We're also playing a little bit of tech house here and there, to, keep the party going in the
Yeah.
event that we wanted to really showcase, the disco house genre, that it is modern and that it can be blended with a lot of modern sounds. And you're hearing that and you're seeing that today with
Oh
like
yeah.
what major labels are doing, by like sampling, like R&B vocals, sampling 70s vocals
Oh, I
and
mean,
things like that, and
they've
kind of,
been doing it forever.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you're hearing it, like more and more these days. But yeah, the collective started more so trying to kind of marry the two together. But now, we've got a residency at a place called Higher Ground, which is a popular place in Austin. And we also work with another partner, another venue called Native Hostel. And at first, people are like, well, is it just straight disco? But we try to marry a lot of genres in there, but still with that emphasis of having disco house. I would say, that French house as well, that has a little bit more of a bite, a little bit more of a, like a thumping to it, into these like venues. And it's gone over really, really well. And, I was on like a chat the other day, and they are mentioning like, hey, like, I think a promoter was saying, who are the disco guys here in Austin or whatever, and they're like, hey, talk to the disco nap guys, like those are the folks. And yeah, so for that, I would say, yeah, it's been cool, like having that collective, the folks in it. It's myself, Ron Austin, and Ron Austin, Shep, who is also in Austin too, Slider, and myself, and Lindsay, who runs down marketing. We've just been trying to like pump out this monthly party, bring in as much people as possible, and really introduce people to these like fresh new sounds, and also bring in a lot of diverse talent in Austin who might want to play disco, or who might want to like kind of flex their muscles in different genres. We create that space for that, but it's been received very, very well.
Okay. And you said that's once a month.
Yes.
And how is the scene in Austin overall of the dance music scene?
Yeah, so it's interesting that you asked that. I think it's going over really well. There are a lot more clubs that are opening up that have an emphasis on bottle service, which I'm not like the biggest fan of.
Mm-hmm.
However, there have been a lot of people that have moved to Austin, and there's also a lot of clubs that are, bringing in bigger talent. Like shout out to Concourse Project, they bring in a lot of really, really big talent, and they do focus on like the production and the energy. I had the opportunity to open for Purple Disco Machine, last year in December, and that was a wild party. It was sold out. Like it was a total vibe. But I know a lot of people complain that there's so many people moving into Austin, but for me, I love it because, not everybody can go to everybody's party, right? So everybody's throwing these parties, and there's so many people that have come in. So like everybody can have a share of people who are coming in to, not everybody's going to be able to fit at what's happening at the concourse, or what's happening at, Higher Ground. So there's more people to diversify in different sounds and different energies. And I think it's been really good. I think it's been pretty healthy for the most part. And just trying to, promote what you can. There's more flavor these days. There's
Mm-hmm.
more like energy. There's more, there's just different parties. And, if you want to do techno, they've got that. If you want to go to like a crazy, like techno house afters, there's Hen House Basement. There's a place for that. So that's what I love about it. There's more
Okay.
people here, and there's more, there's more different varieties that you can choose from on a Friday, Saturday, like
Okay.
Wednesday, Thursday, the whole shebang.
So it's starting to kind of splurge out to the rest of the week.
Yes,
A little
exactly.
bit. Okay.
Yeah,
And there's
yeah.
like more than one party per genre
Yes.
available.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
which
like
has
per
been
night. Like,
super
is there?
exciting.
Okay. Because if there's more people coming, I think there's more opportunity for other parties that are trying to collectives get together and say, oh, maybe we should do
Exactly.
this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the thing I loved about the community is that for me personally, I felt like there's always been a lot of synergy. So for like a couple of promoters to get together and chat and promote a party together, work together, venues working with promoters. I've always felt like, compared to being in the East Coast, a lot of it, there was a lot of gatekeeping. And here, or Austin per se, I've always had the feeling that it was more of a sense of unity, working together. When I moved there, I never thought I'd get like a shot to be on the decks unless like I was a year in. I was like
Hmm.
hustling and grinding, but I met a friend of mine, Andy, and I moved August 2018. And by like I think December or January the next year, he was like, "Hey man, you want to play a party with me?" I was like, "What? You barely know me." He's like, "Yeah." And it's always been like that ever since. Like since that, it's been nothing but love. So big love to the Austin community, trying to just bring people together, work together, and create a synergy. So it's been really
Well,
dope.
I think you're at a good time because it is kind of still fresh, and a lot of people have been moving there the last couple years, especially when the pandemic hit. You had a good
Yeah.
opportunity to re up, and you're in it. And Austin's probably going to be one of the fastest growing cities. That's what they're
Yes.
saying. So
Yeah.
you're in it before it all gets really big, maybe. So you're in the right spot. I mean, being in New York, and I'm from LA, so it's everything's pretty much set in stone, and I know exactly what you're
Hmm.
talking about with DJs trying to get into gigs and whatnot. And it's pretty much kind of what you're saying. You kind of have to start your own party or your collective,
Yeah.
because everything's been established for many years already. So,
Yes.
um, tell you have a single being released soon, correct? Or did you already
Um,
release a single? You have one coming
I
out or a remix?
So I had a remix come out. Oh man, I should know this, right? I had a remix come out. I've got two vinyl releases coming
Oh,
out next
vinyl
year.
releases
Yeah, yeah,
next
yeah,
year.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, next year. So I'm releasing one with Moist Music next year, and I'm returning with a buddy of mine. We're collabing on it. His name's Bernardo Mota, based in Portugal.
Hmm.
And we've got a vinyl release coming out in January on Super Spicy Records, which is owned
What's super
by a good
spicy?
friend of mine, Jesus, also Monsieur Von Pratt. So had that track sitting for like a while now, sent it over to him, and I'm glad that it's able to be pressed to wax. So there's like there's no better feeling than having like a tangible copy of what you made or what you
Hmm.
put together. It
Ha-
just
Have you
there's
had
nothing
that
like
yet?
it. Yeah, so Jesus and I put a record out called Sigame, and it came out earlier this year, or I think in February earlier this year, and or maybe it was last year. It was last year, and I remember waiting like weeks to get the record.
Mm.
Finally got the record, put it on the record player, and like my jaw. You can ask my wife, like my jaw was just dropped. Like just so excited that
That's
like
great.
what I put together, what I slaved over, right, is like finally I can hear it physically. I can like move the record, I can do all this stuff. It's on a digital
It's not
file.
a digital,
It,
yes, yes.
yeah, so it was mind boggling to me, and it's one of those things that
They
like I
still make
treasure.
records.
Exactly, yeah. And it's cool because like when it's one thing for someone to buy like support your digital copy of like a release, right, or download it illegally or rip it from YouTube. But for someone, and I think why I appreciate it so much, is for someone to spend like their hard-earned money on an actual like record that's coming in like 4 weeks from now. Like I've got screenshots from friends who have pre-ordered it. Like to me that like absolutely warms my heart, because they could have spent that money elsewhere. They could have got like so many other different things, but they wanted to pre-order the record, or buy the record. And so for me, like that feeling is just like it's surreal to me.
Mhm.
And I can't thank people who have supported my stuff over the years like so very much. Like I'm tremendously humbled by it. So yeah.
Do you spin vinyl?
No, I tried. So when I
Or are you
was
gonna
actually,
learn?
yeah, so I've got to learn. When I was in back in church, like they were trying to bring in a lot of like young folks in, so they had like a DJ
Oh
spinning like
wow.
Christian records. Super interesting. I'm not gonna say it's weird, but definitely interesting. But I learned sort of from there, but that was like when I was 16. That was like many
Okay.
years ago. But I had learned it, and like I haven't had the time or the money for the equipment ever since.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm hoping to connect with some folks in the community and learn ASAP. But I do have like a player, I do have a collection, and it's one of those things where it's like I've got so much stuff that I'd love to play out, but I've gotta I've gotta make sure I can mix it right first.
Of course. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just no train wrecks. You might have to change your name.
Oh, exactly. Train wreck tracks.
Oh yeah, train wreck tracks. That's a good one. I, so what are you planning on playing tonight? Which do you have you? This is your first time here, right? You said.
Yeah, first time here. I've had a couple of like friends of mine who come out here,
Oh wow.
and they've said that they've loved the venue, they love the
Mhm.
space. I actually met the promoter Aaron last night, absolute gem. And I think they booked me for playing disco house and
Mhm.
my own production. So that's what I'll go and bring. There sounds like there's like a community for that. I've tried to tap in and reach out to folks, in this community,
Mhm. It's in
to see kind of like
Kentucky,
the things
right?
that they like and stuff. Yeah, yeah, in Kentucky. Yep.
Kentucky.
And yeah, just a lot of disco house, like
Wow, in
bringing that
Kentucky of
energy.
all places. I'm.
I know it's budding out here. Like just going out last night, they've got things going on, and it's really cool. Like it's
Hmm.
exciting to see like kind of the scene and things that are happening here, and just kind of chatting with like the locals. It's been really cool.
So have you been touring a lot more recently, or is it starting to come, or what is it?
Yeah, I would say this past year was crazy. I was in the middle of like selling and buying a house in like the Austin market, which
Mhm.
is wild. So I think now that things are a lot more normal, I'm hoping to, you know, I wouldn't call it tour, but definitely go
You're
out
getting
to,
booked.
yeah,
Yeah.
getting booked at other
Yeah.
places. Like, I'm hoping I've got a buddy in Tulsa named Heartwork. If you don't know Heartwork, he's
Okay.
super good. But yeah, like going out to Tulsa. Tulsa's got a scene out there, so shout out to Tulsa.
Wow.
Going out there, I'd love to make it back to New York. My buddy actually reached out to me about possibly doing a Space Taco Tuesday in LA.
Yeah.
Um,
LA,
so
huge house music out here. Huge house music and disco.
yeah,
I
I
mean, we
play
have every
pattern
genre
bar there.
out here, but
Yeah.
a lot of parties like that. Like you mentioned, Purple Disco Machine, and they he was just here with a bunch of other people. Like I think it was near just last month because we have
Mhm.
good weather, and it was
Yeah.
outside in one of these massive outside venues, and it
Oh,
was
it's so
sold
sick.
out as well. So, but we have a great
Yeah.
scene out here. I mean, I think you'd be received quite well if you came out here, or
Yeah,
your party out here, or whatever.
yeah, I played pattern bar there last year,
Oh,
and
okay.
it was so much fun. Like it
Yeah.
was like a small little spot, but like there's a lot of like good energy there. Everybody was having a good time. Like no frills. It was a vibe. So I would love to make it back out to LA.
Yeah.
I enjoyed my time there a lot.
Yeah, Pattern Bar likes having a lot of new artists, and if you have an
Yeah.
idea for an event, they're open to throwing it. So it's
Oh, I
always an
love
op.
that.
That's always an option to keep that in the back of your mind too.
That's
That
awesome.
bar.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love places like that. Yeah, we worked with a collective called Top Shelf Disco on that party, and they were doing something at Pattern Bar, and so they brought us out. It was me and Scott Slider Scott Slider and Ron Austin, and we played a party there, and Ron Austin brought his guitar and shit. Like it was dope. It was a lot of fun. I hope to make it out to LA sooner than later for sure, especially during the summertime. Oh yeah, we were there last summer. It was great. It was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, year round. I mean,
That
we probably only got like a month or two more of winter. So if we call it
oh
winter.
man. Oh, I'm jealous. So
Yeah.
I mean, we don't get like crazy winters here in Austin, but I mean, it's been wild. Like we had that crazy like snow ice storm thing that happened. That was not
Yeah, it
fun.
was like last year, wasn't it? Or you 2 years ago?
2 years
2 years
ago.
ago. two
Yeah,
years ago.
yeah. It was crazy, but yeah, I will say our summers. It's kind of ironic. Our like summertime, like we try not to do much just because it is so hot. Like you're
Yeah, it
talking
gets
like
really hot.
it's 8 in the morning and it's already like 85 degrees.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's brutal.
All right, and you, like I said, you gave us a mix to play. Do you want
Yeah.
to tell us anything about that real quick, or you don't have to,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of original like productions in there. I've got a remix actually from an LA based artist named Novador in there, and Clavette is on that remix. And Clavette is a producer in LA who is immensely talented. Dude is just super super good at what he does. Got stuff on Tool Room, like just a legend in his own right. Yeah, and just a lot of tunes that I've been feeling recently, and tunes that have gone off. Yeah, just a lot of really really good stuff in there. I actually have a remix for that I did for Heartwork in there as well, for his song Answer that came out earlier in the year. So yeah, it was not a labor of love, but it's a mix that really spoke to me. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it as you were
yeah,
listening to it before airing it and stuff. So
yeah,
yeah,
I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it.
awesome.
All right, Boogietraxx, Brandon, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for your time. It was a blast talking to you, and
Yeah,
thank you for the opportunity. I really
yeah,
appreciate
yeah,
it.
yeah. Likewise. I mean,
You're listening to Tastemakers.
Stash Radio.
Do I make you horny, baby?
Oh my gosh. The music just turns me on.